Shop smart, shop S-Mart.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
Who the hell are you?
Name's Ash.
This is my boomstick!
So hi, welcome to Binge Buddies, Deadites in Aisle 3. I'm your host, as always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Matt Zombie Dog Bruce Campbell Dykes.
From My Name is Bruce.
Still no. Still from Fox Halloween Bash.
I really hope that it's a Halloween bash on Fox and not that they're bashing a Fox for Halloween.
I am also hoping that, but then again, Fox would definitely broadcast people on Fox bashing a fox if that fox had ever voted blue in its entire life. I don't know if foxes can vote, but if they can, I imagine Fox would not be a fan of Fox. I'm going to keep this joke going as long as I can as I'm trying to find my IMDb page on my my iPad here.
Your IMDb page.
The IMDb page, the pages of IMDb's, which I just can't find, which is because never mind, because I'm dumb. That's it, because I don't have the app. I'm just using the the website. There we go, easy. So you might notice there's only half of us here this week. Joel might drop in later. We'll see. He's got some stuff going on. Ryan also has some stuff going on, but we knew he wasn't going to be here. So have fun with your stuff. Hopefully it's all okay. And Matt and I are going to try to talk as much of this as we can, which means this will probably be a shorter episode with less of us to bounce stuff off of. I didn't even ask Matt if he was cool with this. We just found out a minute ago it's going to be two of us. And I hit record. So here we are in real time.
Nah, I'm leaving. See you.
Goddamn, it's going to be a really boring podcast of me going, I liked it. All right. And
I mean, it's not the first time it's just been the two of us, though. I mean, we've done stuff before where it's just us and we've got stuff out of it.
Not in a long time, though. Like,
I mean, yeah, that was like COVID, years. I think.
Yeah,
that was like
time. Which is weird to think that's like 5th year anniversary this year. Just
yeah.
Right? How did my country put the same fucker in charge on the 5th anniversary? Like, what are we doing, man? Let's talk about a TV show from 10 years ago.
I can't believe it's 10 years old. Like
more.
That just kind of
like, right? Isn't it more?
No, the remake was 2013.
That's right. That's what
the series set in 2015, so it's 10 years this year.
Exactly 10 years old, yeah. This doesn't feel like a 10-year-old show to me.
No, it feels like it could have just aired yesterday.
Yeah, which is both good and kind of makes me feel like we've stagnated creatively in kind of a weird way. Like, if this still feels like it could have come out today, then or is it just that good?
I'd say it's that good. I mean, like, the people involved in it, like it's one of those weird things where there's a thing where you do like a film to a TV series, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. There's some examples where it works really well and is actually better than the films, and then there's some examples where it just fails horribly and like it lasts like a season or less. But it's very rare to have the original people who were involved in the films be involved in the series as well, which is what this has.
Extent here, like this feels like Sam Raimi. Like it just,
it
has that Sam Raimi vibe through and through, which is helpful.
I mean, the smash cut to the opening credits is always like it's such a Sam Raimi thing with like the blood on the screen and then that sort of da-da-da, da-da-da. It feels just so Sam Raimi like throughout.
Yeah, and it just kind of it really has that, we mentioned last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. It has that, like, not necessarily Army of Darkness vibe, but more so Evil Dead 2 kind of Army of Darkness vibe, where it's like that horror comedy is really what they're going for.
It's got the slapstick comedy of Army of Darkness and the gore of Evil Dead 2. And it's like that combination is really good. But then again, like there is slapstick comedy in Evil Dead 2 as well. Like I think they like there's less of it than in Army of Darkness. So I think they've turned the comedy up to Army of Darkness and they've turned the gore up to Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
And it's a really good mixture.
And it is. And like right around this time, I'm not sure if you remember 10 years ago, there's a lot of like horror TV shows that were like horror TV shows were kind of the thing for a minute there, which was fun, except most of them weren't that great. Like we had.
Yeah, I mean, this is the period of Walking Dead around this time.
American Horror Story was popping off like crazy at this time.
Yeah.
We had Scream Queens. We had the show Scream.
Yep.
Like there's a lot, and there's a lot of horror TV shows, and there's all this sort of horror comedy was the vibe.
Yeah.
And then you had like, The King, baby. Like that is him. Like it is Ash. And this was far and away not the most popular one, which is kind of
what it comes down to is like, and I've read this so many times now, it was that no one fucking knew about the show because it was on Starz, and everyone's like, well, how do I watch this? Yeah. Like, you find out about it, it's like, yeah, I want to watch it. How? And it wasn't really easy to at the time because I don't think it was a streaming service.
No, but to their credit, they would do like free first episode on YouTube. Like, check it out. Like, they tried to get people to come to it, and this is like, how do you watch Starz? Like, 10 years ago, I don't remember how I watched this show. I was probably sailing the high seas, if I'm being honest. But I don't remember doing that. But probably that's how I had to do it, or I had to pay for each episode.
I mean, like when it came down to like viewing this in the UK. Was a pain in the ass as well because we just didn't get it at all for ages.
You guys don't have Starz, right? Or do you now? I don't think you did.
I think there is now. I think you can get it as an Amazon add-on channel now, but it was on Netflix. But it came to Netflix like way late, like and like so like I think they were shooting season 3 by the time season 1 even made it to Netflix in the UK.
Oh, so like this was a pain, yeah.
It was like that much of a delay, and with that delay also came. It wasn't like they put season 1 and 2 up there straight away. It was like season 1, then you still had to wait for season 2, and then you still had to wait for season 3 as well. It wasn't like as soon as it was there, oh, it's up now. They were still making us wait as if it's like it's in production at the moment. It's not being. But it was like right there, it was finished. Like, season 1 and 2 were finished, but it was still like, oh, here's season 1. Now you got to wait here for season 2. And it was just kind of like, why? It's there. Like, I know it's fucking there. So, like, it's not surprising that, like, a lot of people probably did pirate it in the UK. Yep. And if it was available on any other channel, I don't know if it was or not, but it was probably one of those ones that's like a hidden away satellite TV channel, which nobody knows about. And it's probably on at, like, midnight or something.
And it's probably one of those ones where like it's not going to do repeats, so you have to catch it when it airs. And it's like, who watches things? Even 10 years ago, like that's when streaming was like it was more so kicking off, but it's kicked off before 10 years ago. Streaming's been around longer than people like to think about.
I think streaming was gaining traction. That around 10 years ago was when people were starting to notice there was a drop in piracy.
Yeah,
because you had Netflix and then maybe Amazon Prime at the time, and those were the two big sort of streaming services. That was it. So like everything was going on there because like that was the time of like the big sort of Netflix boom of hey, look at all this shit we've got on here. It's huge. It's so packed, and then everyone else started wanting to like about 2020, 2021.
Yeah, it was really COVID when like everything, like when Disney jumped in is when like everything just kind of went bananas. But I think Disney jumped in 2018, I want to say, but I could be wrong. But it was around this time. Like it was a little bit past when the show was out, but like
I think it was just after. I think it was just after they bought Fox. So whenever that completed, because I know when Disney Plus launched in the UK, we also got a lot of Fox stuff on there as part of what the hell were they calling it? Because it wasn't like because I know that it was basically stuff anything that was on Hulu ended up on Disney Plus as part of their. I think they called it Star as well.
I don't remember the deal, but the long and short of it is this show was a bitch to find. And it didn't really change. Like I never even watched season 3. I'm gonna watch it live when we record this show.
Same, and it was one of those things where like because they made us wait so like. Pointlessly making us wait as well. It was one of those things where it fell off my radar and I kind of forgot about it. And
you're not Venture Brothers, you're not getting away with those long waits.
And that's really the crazy thing. Like, because I loved it. Every time I watch the show, I really love it. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you get to the end of season 2, you're waiting forever for season 3. There's more stuff going on. Like, and it just because it's so long a gap, it's not one of those things where it's like, hey, this is available now. It just kind of because they didn't make a big fanfare about it being available as well. So it just kind of dropped, and if you were looking and you found it, then you found it. But
And you found it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really weird way to like treat this show, which is actually I would say one of the best horror TV shows, especially in that horror comedy vein as well. Like
I would argue it's the best of those like movies made into TV shows, and like I know there's a lot that got like a lot of acclaim. Like Fargo gets a ton of love and stuff, but like this one to me just it feels the most continuation of like its original source material. Now I haven't watched Chucky. I've heard Chucky does this really well too, but this felt the most like it's not just trying to cash in on what some famous movie title. It's just trying to do its own thing, which I kind of like. But let's start like kind of jumping in. Or you know what? I did have the trailer. We're not going to do trailers every episode because there was not a trailer for every episode unless like there's 30-second teasers, which I'm not going to do every time. We might do like best clips if I can find clips of episodes. But for the first one, I can at least play the trailer for the entirety of the first season, which will have some stuff in there, I'm sure, that we haven't gotten to yet because we're only doing the first 2 episodes today, which we should probably start talking about. We've been talking for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Hold on. Here we go. Is this Ed?
And the vast majority of this 10 minutes has been, this was a pain in the ass to find.
It sure was. Here we go.
When I was a kid, he would say, evil is always waiting in the shadows. And only one man would rise to stand against it.
Oh, the girdle.
That girdle scene is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking sweet.
What I love as well is they kept the evil POV thing, and it's still shot in that similar vein, but like because there's more technology available, they do more with it.
Yeah.
And I like that evolution of it.
Never told anyone.
That's nice. I wasn't a big fan of seeing it, but we'll get to that next week.
We found the next.
Yeah, the fog was a bit weird.
Yeah, but that's next week's problem.
Yeah.
Certain passages were recited.
What I like as well when he's telling the story and you get the flashbacks in that episode, it's a mixture of the first Evil Dead film and the footage from Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, there's no Army of Darkness, which
I think that was a rights thing.
To escape.
yeah, that's what we were saying last week. Yeah,
The evil has found me.
Because Army of Darkness was Universal.
I love his like track for his boomstick. That's great.
Yeah.
First thing I gotta do is see a guy about a book. There must be some spell I can say to undo all this. The other first thing I gotta do is some cardio, because my heart is jackhammering like a quarterback on prom night.
Seriously, he is a one-liner machine.
Fight through the let the boomstick do the talking.
What I love.
Use your bottle.
Use your bottle. Little bottle.
I don't think it's a very good weapon, Hefe. He had to stab like 50 times.
It's okay, I sharpened it.
I was sharpening it for you. Now, come on. You ready?
I'm ready.
I love how much blood they get, like, every episode so far. They just get, like, poured all over them.
I love that dude.
It reminds me of the Chatterer from Hellraiser.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is really just the first.
I'm your new best friend.
It's just the first 2, kind of.
3 episodes, I think, because the bookstore is the 3rd
Oh, that's
episode.
in 3, yeah.
Yo, Grant. Let's go.
I'm so glad that like the chainsaw arm is back as well.
I'm not
Oh,
a
yeah.
grief counselor, but if it's any consolation,
Oh.
you're kind of like a young me. Deadites ruined your life, and you're hot as hell.
You know they were Jewish, right?
I did not. Wish you could have said something before I made those dumb crosses, but okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good trailer though, because like it does actually keep it to like the first 4 episodes. So like
Yeah.
it doesn't really spoil it too much. Like we know that something's going to be going on with like, you know, the Deadites are back. There's like a bit of a team up going on now as opposed to it just being, you know, Ash on his own, and which I think was a really good idea. Like, because I think it would have been difficult to sustain like a long TV series of just Ash. As fun as it would have been, there needs to be someone who he can bounce off of. And in a TV series setting, like if you're doing this kind of like week to week kind of idea, like we're going somewhere else, it would be difficult to keep that going. So giving him those kind of sidekicks is a really good way of keeping that sort of like bouncing off element involved.
Yeah, I think that was a good idea. Because there's no way that it's not going to be different. Like it's, it's way, way later. It's different people. Like there's a lot of different things to it. And I think kind of embracing it to a degree was the right call. And like,
yeah,
say what you will. Like, does it, I was trying to find like people who don't like this show. Like that was kind of my goal over the past couple days. Like who are the Evil Dead fans who are like, no. And a lot of like what I could find, which is very, very like Reddit comment bullshit kind of pointlessness, is like it doesn't feel like the same Ash. And I'm like, well, but should it? He's like 20 years older, if not 30 years older.
30, it makes a point of it being 30 years since the first, like, since the first film and everything. And yeah, it's that kind of bullshit thing of like when people were talking about how Luke Skywalker doesn't feel the same. It's like, yeah, but it's 30 years later. Like, are you the same 30 years later? No. Yeah. Like, people grow and change and stuff like that. And yeah, but like, I don't get why the same doesn't feel like the same Ash, because it kind of is, just he's older now. So like he's still Ash. Like there's no like, it's not like, the thing we talked about on Die Hard where all of a sudden Bruce Willis is like, John McClane can now fly a helicopter for reasons.
Well, it's like when John McClane just turns into Bruce Willis after a while. Like it's no longer John McClane. Whereas this one, like it's still very much Ash. He's just, I think the problem is, and I don't mean this is a problem with the movie because the movie is amazing, but the problem is kind of Army of Darkness. Army of Darkness kind of gave us a different version of Ash than Evil Dead 2. And this show, as we've been talking for a little bit now, kind of blends both of those ideas, both violence, comedy, and kind of Ash into one. So I still think it feels a shitload like Ash. And again, we're critiquing Reddit commenters, so like we don't need to waste time with this. But it is one of those, like, I think it kind of blended those two ideas of kind of Army of Darkness Ash and a little bit of Evil Dead 2 Ash, because they're essentially the same characters, but we have that like quick on his feet, scrappy, just trying to survive Ash from Evil Dead 2, and crazy overconfident, this is my boomstick, let the chainsaw do the talking Ash from Evil Dead. And this one we kind of get both. And I appreciate that. I like it. It works.
I think something to remember as well is like Evil Dead 2 to Army of Darkness is an evolution of the character. Like the character is that kind of scrappy thing. And then by the time we get to Army of Darkness, he's got confidence because he's beat them before. And like that's where it's misplaced confidence because he didn't really beat them, more just kind of survived them. But we have that kind of, because I don't think you can sustain the Army of Darkness Ash for very long, given the fact he's still Ash and he's still a bit of a dunce. Like, so he is always going to have that kind of scrappy, oh god, I need to do this to survive element to his character. But then when he's got that overconfident thing, like the bit in the trailer where he like ejects the boomstick and like he's firing it and he's doing all that sort of stuff, like he's confident now because he's got his boomstick. But then in the shop when the little doll's attacking him, that's more like Evil Dead 2 Ash of like, oh my god, and it's that in certain environments where he has that confidence more is where we get the overly confident elements that we see in Army of Darkness. And then when he's out of his comfort zone, he doesn't have much control, we're back to scrappy Evil Dead 2 Ash. And I think it's like the way the series portrays that, I think is really good. Yeah.
And like it makes me like Bruce Campbell a little bit more, which I've already, I love Bruce Campbell. How could you not?
I know. How do you like him more than already? Like because he's amazing.
But he's always been, and I don't mean this as a knock, he's been one noted. He's been, one version of these characters, and he has to do a lot more here. This is a lot more work for Bruce Campbell, and he I think he rises to the occasion. Yeah. And it really does. Like I made this comment a lot when we were talking just on our chat, but I do get a lot of Peacemaker vibes from this show. Like if you're a big fan of Peacemaker, you will probably be a big fan of this show. The comedy, the writing, the violence, all of it feels very close. Like I can see why this is vibing for us. Like it makes sense.
I mean, I hadn't picked up on that until you mentioned it, but then when you do mention it, like I'm like watching the episodes going, yeah, this does feel kind of like I wouldn't this would not feel out of place if it was, instead of Ash, it was Peacemaker and his little crew. Like,
it would totally work.
And the sort of the storyline is these weird sort of like Deadite zombie type things instead of the butterflies or whatever they're going to do in season 2. Like, it would really fit in well with that kind of series. And then, like, you know, even Ash and Peacemaker both live in a trailer as well, which is just like
like if they lived in the same trailer park, they'd be drinking buddies.
Yeah, that'd be a crossover.
That would be a crossover.
That would be a crossover. I would love that.
I would totally. That'd be a fun watch. I don't know what Ash would do with Vigilante, if they would amp each other up or like annoy each other, but it really could go the wrong way for living things around them. It's just the general vibe. All right, so let's kind of get started here. We've been talking for a little bit, just kind of about our general feelings of Ash vs. Evil Dead, but we are going to cover 2 episodes today, which is the very first episode, which had a title that I had open on my many IMDb pages, and now
El Jefe.
El Jefe, and what's our second one?
Bait.
El Jefe and Bait. Okay, so we'll start with El Jefe, which is our pilot. It's a little bit longer, but I don't think it's going to take us as long to talk about, because a lot of that is prepping people who don't know what Evil Dead is, because this show did have to do a little bit of that, like, this could be people's first experience ever with this property. I don't know what to call it. The
series,
world, genre, series, whatever you want to call it. So they have to kind of set the stage a little bit. And that stuff for me is kind of like, it's fun. I love doing it. You know, it's like, you know, welcome back to the party. But at the same time, it's like, I get all this. For me, I really start getting this show when we just start seeing Ash being Ash, because we really have not gotten a lot of that throughout Evil Dead. We see him on vacation, then we see him on the same vacation, and then we see him in Army of Darkness, where he goes on a vacation he did not want to go on.
Yeah.
And then we get him a little bit at work, but very, very little of Ash being Ash. And this one, we get it. We get to see him like pick up a girl in a bar and bang her in the bathroom. See his pickup lines and the way he amps himself up to go out to the bar with his girdle and his juice box dancing. Like,
and that terrible story he tells to pick up the, like, he is like the worst for picking up women. Like, that story is just like, oh, that's horrible.
That's rough. But it works.
I'm trying to figure out, though, how he managed to save the child and lose his hand at the same time, though. Because, like, if his hand got lost and he was holding the child with that hand, then surely the child is dead as well. And then if he was holding it in the other hand, how did he lose his hand? Like, did he just leave his hand in front of the train or whatever the thing was that was coming?
I think it's best not to think too much into Ash's stories. Either they worked for you or they didn't.
Because it doesn't make any sense. And that's the thing.
Nope. But then he does go have sex with her in the bathroom, and mid-sex, she turns into a Deadite, which freaks him out. Obviously,
I mean, it would do, yeah. Like, you know, that's anything to kill a boner.
Mojo. Yeah, that is definitely a boner killer. But then she says, "Oh, we're done." He's like, "Well, I guess I can finish."
Yeah. The sound design of the hand, the wooden hand spanking her, though, that sort of cluck, cluck, cluck.
I do love that he has a nickname for his hand, and it's Woody. Like that, just I'm not sure where we learned that. I remember, but when he loses, it's in episode 4. I want to say he loses it, and he talks about like, I was like, "Oh, it cost my best friend Woody." It's like,
yeah, I think it's either 3 or 4 because it's in the bookstore.
Yeah, that's
so. Right. I can't remember if it's as they're leaving at the end of 3 or at the beginning of 4 where he's talking about it. But yeah, like I love that it's called Woody though.
Yeah, of course.
And I love that it's just like a giant, like. It's just a giant hand in like a posed thing as well. Like, it's
very much the Chubb's hand from Happy Gilmore. Like, it is just like if they just broke fingers off throughout the entire season, they would just be repeating that gag, and I'd kind of be okay with it. It would be fun, but I'm glad they didn't. Still glad they didn't. But let's kind of if this is Ash and he's living his life, he now does have 2 best friends. Well, at the beginning of this episode, it's kind of one, but by the end of it, like we can tell the girl's going to be the other one. But we have Pablo and Kelly.
Yes, Kelly.
Pablo and Kelly, and they work at not S-Mart in this. They're not
Value Stop.
Value Stop. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of sad that he wasn't S-Mart. Like,
I think that goes back to that rights thing you're talking about with Evil Dead,
which is crazy.
Or Army of Darkness.
Like,
I could be wrong.
This fake store is protected by copyright.
Yeah, that's annoying. But yeah, so they're at Value Smart. Sure.
Value stop.
Whatever.
S value stop.
They're at Target, and
I mean, they have the red uniforms and everything.
yeah, so they're at Target, and you know they're. If you've ever worked a retail job, it's unavoidable. You become friends with some of the people you work with, and they can be any age. When I was 16 and I was working at TJ Maxx, some of my best friend at that place was a woman in her late 40s, but we just got along because you know you're stuck together for hours at a time. And you kind of get that vibe here from Ash and then Kelly and Pablo, where Ash is that old timer who's been doing this job forever and now doesn't give one fuck about it, does not try at all, and they have to do all of his work for him. If you've ever done one of these jobs, you know who I'm talking about. Like, yes, it's like you have tenure, and it's like, just do your job, man. Like, you're not special. You're still just a clerk, and it's so annoying.
He's not even a clerk. He's a stock boy as well. Like, it literally says on his name badge that he's a stock boy, so he's not even like good enough to actually serve customers. He's literally just there to get shit out of the back and put it at the front, and even that he can't do. Really, like the light bulbs is so funny. Like the way he just picks them up, they just come flowing out of the box, and then it's just like this kind of like comedic thing where like he's moving around with the box and they're just like flying out everywhere, and you just hear them all just going.
Just the slapstick of it all, like almost Three Stooges is like, just put the bulbs away. You got it, boss. Picks it up and they all slide out the back. Just like,
Which I love that they kept that as well, because it was kind of an integral element of like especially 2 and 3, like bringing that kind of Three Stooges comedy in there. And I'm glad that they didn't sort of think, oh, is this going to play well in the 21st century with like modern audiences? Like, nah, fuck it, it's part of the series. Like, you know, we're going to do this kind of stuff. If you like it, great. If you don't, tough.
Yeah, this is who Ash is, and if you're into it, you're into it. That's it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you're not coming to Ash versus Evil Dead thinking it's going to be like a Walking Dead type of serious horror thing. It's like it's going to be horror, but it's also going to be hilarious, and it does both really well. Actually, I think, especially like when we get to the 3rd episode with that monster thing. Like, it is genuinely like creepy, like the way it kind of like flickers out of. I mean, I don't want to talk about that too much because we'll get to that.
Yeah, we gotta get to 3. We'll get to 3 because like this one doesn't have a ton of that. This one just kind of has like your plain Deadite, but it does have something that we should bring up. Because we're kind of dancing around the story. The story is pretty basic in the first episode. It's really just welcome back to the world of Evil Dead. Like that's it. These are our main players. This is it. But it does have to add in some B story because we can't just have nothing but Ash. You got to have more going on. And they do that in a various couple of ways. They don't really hint on it too much. We're going to get more and more into it. But there is clearly some beef between the evil of the Deadites and Ash because they know who he is. They call him by name, and they're like, "We are coming for you." And it's like it's a thing. And
because he beat them. It's because he somehow managed to get them to go away in the book, and then got high and tried like with a woman.
French, but I got something for you.
And then read from the book again, which I think is like an amazing reaction though. That it just, fuck.
Got stoned and read the book again, and then here we are. And that poor girl. So that's kind of where I was going. So he has a night of fun with some lovely lady, and gets way too stoned, reads the book again, starts it all over again. That girl gets possessed, and she has to go off, and that's where we meet kind of our chief person in the B story, which is Detective Fisher. I don't know how much Detective Fisher's in the show. When I looked at IMDb, she's like in like maybe a third of the episodes everybody else is, but she's in every episode so far. And her whole thing is investigating the series of extremely violent crimes. And when she gets there, we find the girl that Ash read the French to, and she's having some troubles. They try to get up close to her, and she literally turns her head around. We saw it in the trailer a moment ago. She is full-blown Deadite, and she just starts fucking shit up.
Yeah,
murders the shit out of Fisher's partner by throwing him into a wall with antlers on it, which they use now in like every previously on. Like they're very proud of that shot.
I mean, it is a pretty good shot to be fair. Like
the best shot in that sequence though is when she shoots the guy up and like it's silhouetted against the wall, so it shoots. You get the blood splatter and then the bang, 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 bang of all the windows closing. Like that's it.
Oh yeah, that is a very
cool shot.
That is a very cool. Like it's a cool moment as well. Like just the. it's that kind of immediate, like their head goes and then all the windows close and it's like, oh, it's not over.
Oh, it's
it
really
ain't
not-
over. It's like,
it's one of those. Did I just make this worse? Like,
yeah. It's like,
sorry,
somehow
this
this is
one.
worse.
but it's a really like I just love everything from her being on the ground, shooting up the angle at him, and then the blood splatter coming out, and then as soon as it hits, because the blood goes that way, and then all the windows start closing the other way. So it goes whoop, whoop, and it's like that was impressive as hell. Like I put that up there, like the chainsaw shot from the remake. Like that's cool stuff.
Yeah. What I like as well in that sequence is where her partner shoots the girl with the shotgun and it blows like half her head off. And there's like, oh, you okay? And then the half-headed corpse turns around and like then it's oh shit! And it's just like because we're not in zombie world here. We're in Deadite world, and like that's the key difference between like a zombie film and an Evil Dead film. Like in the Evil Dead film, you have to fully dismember the corpse, and even then they're not dead, but they're kind of immobilized. Like it's not just like you just shoot them in the head.
Yeah, it's I like Evil Dead stuff.
Yeah, it is really good. But I like it does have that. The first episode does have that very sort of like pilot feel to it, because it's like it's reintroducing you to the world. It's setting up what the series is going like. It's setting up arcs for the series as well. But it does a really good job of it. Like, and it's a longer episode, as you say, but it's still only like 40 minutes. What's really kind of cool about this series is that like the episodes they're not super long. They're not super short. They're like half hour, like on average about half hour episodes.
Like 28 minutes,
yeah. So they zip through really quickly. But there's also a lot in. It kind of reminds me of Good Place. 20-minute episodes, but there's a lot in there. Like there's a lot in it.
If you're trying to write quotes in this show, it'll be almost as bad as A Good Place, because almost everything Ash says is a quote. Like, holy crap, he is funny. And as it goes on, I start getting that from Pablo too. Pablo is funny, and like it's tough because he's trying to be funny next to Bruce Campbell. Like you just don't get an edge when you're up against him. But it's like,
but they have great chemistry.
They do. Kelly, we'll see. Like I looked up her IMDb. This is really all she's ever done. So like, we'll see. I'm open to it. She's not my favorite in the first couple episodes, but we'll see.
I mean, like no one's gonna be like outside of Ash. Like Ash is always gonna be the favorite. Like anyone who watches the series and goes, that Ash guy, don't really much care for him. Like what are you watching?
my thing is, I don't think they had a good plan of what to do with Kelly. They did for Pablo. It felt like we want Ash to have two sidekicks. We have Pablo and we have Girl. What does Girl do? She's there. And like they just didn't really have much for her yet. So I'm not blaming the actress. I think the actress is just fine with what she has. I just don't think they have anything for her. So I think this will be expanded upon more, because right now they give her a lot of window dressing. Like it's her family that gets possibly infested with Deadites. Her mom who died, who came back. But she's just kind of the inciting incident. And then you show up and she just kind of fades into the background, lets Pablo and Ash do their thing. And then she kind of comes back in after it's all done. So like I'm waiting for her to find a way to actually include her in the mix. Beyond,
I think it's going to be one of those shows where they're like, Ash is a very clear why he's here. Like, without him, there's no series. Pablo is there because he's Ash's friend. And that is kind of like the connective tissue there. And I think there is going to be like more of an evolution with Kelly as to like what's going to keep her around. Yeah. Because if I remember rightly, like I don't want to like talk about future episodes too much, but she does start to get like reasons for being there, because it's like the whole kind of thing of like, oh, you killed my parents, blah blah blah. You can't sustain that over a whole series. It just gets very boring.
And they have to do something with it, because right now they're really not like really. They give her kind of passing dialogue to be places, and that's fine. I think they're going to figure it out. She seems to be ready for the occasion. It's just in these first 4 episodes of recording today, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But we could. She did great stuff with her parents, but again, like she just kind of showed up and then faded away, because it kind of makes sense. Her parents were murdered in front of her, so like, I don't really know. But we'll get to that. That's next episode, right?
Yes, because that's bait. Because that's
right. So
that's the title of the episode.
So we'll finish up with episode 1 here, and then we'll move into episode 2. So episode 1 does end back in his his trailer, some poor granny that he had told to clean his trailer earlier. He's like, my back. He's like, no stress. But, really get in there. Put your back into it.
And it's like, I got you something as well. And it's like black rubber gloves. It's like, Ash is such a dick. And like, but that works so well. Like, I love that. Like, he's one of those characters who he's a dick, but you kind of like him regardless of that. Like as long as he's not being a dick to you, it's like he's like a guy you would love to hang out with.
Like going back to our Peacemaker episode or our Peacemaker crossover idea, just imagine if he had done this to this poor woman. Peacemaker would be like, is he making you clean his RV again? That son of a bitch. Can you do mine when you're done?
Yeah. I can imagine that completely.
Like he'd be so on your side. Like, what a dick. Anyhow, here's the keys to mine. I'm heading now. Watch out, legally, he'll bite you.
Oh, we need to make this happen.
I'm very into it. And I honestly think Cena and Bruce Campbell would also be into it. So
yeah, that would be interesting.
All right. So anyhow, so the granny shows up. She is a Deadite now, and it is time. And there's another Deadite who shows up too, right? There's a dude. It's
the dude who's like, I think it's like the granny's son or something. Like, they have some sort of like relationship there because it's him and then like her in that same sequence, and I think he's like mowing the lawn or something.
Right. So like that's where like it's like he in the trailer we watched, he's when he got shotgunned in the back of the head against the wall. Yeah. And then Granny comes at him hard, and then we get all of it all comes back. Like here, that's where the shotgun comes through the floor, or his boomstick comes through the floor. He goes and does this mystical, like the chainsaw's flying through the air, he's flying through the air, clink, gets his chainsaw back, dices their heads off. Like this is it. We're back. It's Evil Dead again. And
yeah.
Congratulations.
I love the reveal of Granny behind the curtain because you see the silhouette of the chainsaw, and like in my head I'm like, I couldn't remember like how because it's been a while since I've seen it, so I didn't remember how she got in. I knew she was going to show up, but I was like, I don't remember how she got. But I'm looking at that going, I know they're going to do something with that silhouette because they've done it before in Evil Dead 2, where he opens a thing. It's like, chainsaw, where's the chainsaw? And then the headless thing comes running through the door with the chainsaw. So like when it's like looking at going, it's almost like going, oh, it's like there's something going to be there. Like the chainsaw's going to be gone, or Granny's going to have the chainsaw, or something like that. Yeah. And I just love it. She stood there and she goes, ah!
It's good stuff. But yeah, slices her head. She's dead. That's it. Essentially.
Yeah.
There's a little tag with Lucy Lawless, isn't there? I don't remember. No, because this one ends on
the episode. It's in the diner, so it's about midway through the episode where Amanda,
right.
detective. What was her surname again?
Fisher.
Yeah, she's in the diner and she sees the little girl is like with a deadite face, and then that's when Lucy Lawless sticks her head around and goes, "Hey, you look like you were having a bad day."
Oh, it's okay, that's it. Yeah. I like Lucy Lawless in the show. She hasn't done much yet, so we don't have much to talk about with her yet. But she is fun, and she pops up here to be like, "Hey, I'm going to be important later."
Basically,
she becomes more important, I think, in episode 3.
She shows up in episode 3 at Kelly's parents' house.
That's right. So we'll jump in episode 2. So now we're kind of getting like the meat of this. Things are going to start moving a little bit quicker. Stage is set. Episode 2 is called
Bait.
Bait. So this is the whole thing of Kelly gets a call from her dad saying her mom is back. Her mom recently died, as we found out in the first episode when Ash shreds a hit on her and says something about his mom. Like, my mom just died. And he's like, maybe next time just say yes.
Yeah, it's such a dick. It's such a dick move. But yeah, like what I struggle with this show is actually taking notes because it draws me in so much. Like, so my notes for this one are like they're quite small, but it's one of those things where like the more you start to talk about, the more like it's enough to trigger stuff because I just get sucked right in because it is so good and it is so much fun to watch as well. Like it is just so enjoyable watching this series again.
Well, I mean, because I don't even know how to describe it. It's fun. Like it's
like that opening sequence where Mr. Roper is in the car, and they're fighting in the car, and there's just the blood going everywhere. Like, it's going all over the place. Like, I think Pablo is like the new Bruce Campbell in that he's the one that's getting all the blood on him. Like, I know Bruce Campbell gets a lot of blood on him, but like, it kind of feels like Pablo's just constantly getting more and more blood on him.
But like the dude in the car is great, but I honestly I love the way they keep Kelly in the show. Like before we even get to the car, the whole like, all right, she took off. Like, all right, man, she's gonna take off. She's gonna take off. She took the book, and like we find out later, she didn't take the book, and it was Pablo kind of like forcing this to happen. But still, it was a good like. She's not done yet either. Like, we're not getting rid of her that easily because the first one's a pilot. If they wanted to get rid of her here and just like, oh, she ran away in between episodes, shit like that happens in pilots all the time. There are characters that are in pilots that do not show up in episode 2. It's a very common thing. So if that had happened here, I would have been surprised. But it's kind of a good move on Pablo. Like, oh, you need to get your book back. Go get Kelly back. She could be dying because clearly her mom should not be in her house.
Yeah.
Everything.
And I like that reveal as well of him. Oh yeah, she didn't take the book.
That's good. Like just the sorry.
All that's missing is him, like, you know, on like in front of a fire with a stuffed.
We're sorry.
Tiger. Sorry.
God damn it, that's some good stuff. Hold on 1 second. Got to pull up a note here because I lost it. And
I do like is like when after the fight and like they're all covered in blood, like Ash is using the rag, and then Pablo's like dripping with blood. And he's like, "You got anything for me?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, I got something right." And it's like one of them like KFC wet wipe things.
That's good. poor Pablo. But sure. He got to clean. I mean, he looked cleaner. Neither one of them looked very clean by the time they get to Kelly's house. Granted, they do have to murder a Deadite with a broken bottle on their way there, which is,
yeah, in the thing that they're driving there.
Yeah. It's one of those like, it's what you get for hanging out with Ash, I guess.
Yeah. Like, he is a magnet for this stuff.
Yeah. But then we get that. Quotes in this is going to be tough. Like, it's just going to be tough because they kill the guy.
It's tough to choose one. Like, it genuinely is. Like, because there's so many. Like we said, like this series picks up the Army of Darkness mantle of the one-liners, and it freaking sprints ahead with it. Like
this one right here. So they kill the guy, and like he's back in the front seat. And never killed my boss before, so that's new.
And what I love about that as well is like they set up the boss to be like an absolute dick, so that when he does actually kill him, you're actually glad of it as well. It's we know it's like, well, he's not a human, so it's okay, but we are kind of glad that guy was like, deadited. Yeah,
he was awful, but he was also yeah. I don't think he deserved the bottle stabbing, but
he's a deadite.
It's in the past. So we get to Kelly's house and we find Dad and Mom. And Mom looks pretty normal. Now, for us fans of the series, we know that normal means shit when Deadites are involved, but she's doing a pretty good job passing. Her story is weak but believable-ish.
I mean, amnesia.
I said weak. But, fine. Like, if you're going through grief of losing a parent and this is the story you get, if you really want that parent to be alive, you might latch onto this one.
I think it does a good job of that, though. It does a really good job of setting up the fact that, like, Kelly is buying into this because she is grieving the loss of her mother and she would believe anything.
Yeah.
And it's semi-plausible. So she's just like, she's holding on tight to that hope.
Yeah.
And it is really believable that, if you do lose someone who's really close to you and they suddenly came back, you would believe whatever they tell you just to have that person back. Like, it doesn't matter. Because I think it is that kind of thing. Like, you don't really think clearly in those situations. And Ash being Ash, who doesn't really think clearly, but he does actually make sense. and it's kind of interesting. Like, you know, the way he goes about it is like terrible, like, breaking down the door and running in with like the chainsaw and the shotgun and everything, and
Covered
like
in blood.
Yeah.
I hit a deer on the way here.
oh my god, that whole
Had
thing.
to cut him up with my chainsaw arm. Like, just the pause between chainsaw and arm kills me every time. Just had to cut him with my chainsaw arm. But then the fact that I'm skipping over this, but like the fact that they got Mimi Rogers to play the mom, like
I know, like when she was there, I was like, holy shit.
well, she's no slouch. Like that's a quality actor you have in a
Yeah.
very minimal part. Like,
I mean, it's not like she wasn't doing anything at the time as well. Like, I think around this time she was in Bosch. Like, when was season 1 of Bosch? I think season 1 of Bosch was around this time as well. Like, she was quite heavily in the first season. And they shot Ash versus Evil Dead in New Zealand as well.
yeah, so she's nowhere nearby. Like, but
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing. Like, a lot. So if you sort of a lot of the kind of like the guest characters, they're going to be like New Zealanders, and you can like Mr. Roper, I'm guessing, is from New Zealand because you kind of hear it in his voice every now and again. But it isn't like, you know, they weren't just round the corner. I mean, I think Lucy Lawless was because I think she is actually from there. Oh, she's Australian.
she's also a
from
main
New
character.
Zealand.
She's not just a cameo. Like she's
yeah, and like
she's in, I think almost every episode. I think she's in 29 out of 30. Like she's a major character.
yeah,
This
and
might
the
be
way
the
I
only
think the
episode
way they
she's
got
not
her is like, you know, they had a prior relationship, like, you know, doing Xena, because it was Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert who did Xena, and like, you know, I think them working in her hometown, I think like for that it's like a no-brainer. It's like, what, I get to hang out with these people who I've, you know, like these my friends and shoot something in my hometown. Yeah, sure.
I mean, you can tell Lucy Lawless is down for a good time. Like this is a fun part. She's gonna sink her teeth into it. She's gonna give it her all. But like Bruce Campbell, she's gonna do everything she can to make it the best she can. But it's also gonna be a damn fun time.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
the one thing that you get out of this. Like watching the show, you like, I don't look at this show and think, oh god, it must have been so tough shooting this. Like even with all the blood and everything, I just think they're having so much fun. Like you can just tell. Like you can tell, like there's an energy to the series, which is why I think we enjoy it more because of that energy. Because that energy is there of like, you know, people are having so much fun.
Yeah, it's like The Good Place. Like you can tell how much fun that was, and this one's very similar to that. Like this entire like, there's not much to this episode. Like this, out of the 4 episodes we're reviewing today, this would be the one I'd probably like rank the lowest, and it's still just an absolute amazing episode.
Yeah,
like. It's a very
it's got some of the best quotes of the 4 episodes, I think.
Quotes are amazing. And just the setup of there's a potential Deadite, go find out if it's a Deadite. And then the entire dinner sequence where Ash is just not buying it is amazing. And then all the way up to the reveal where he just punches the hell out of her. And everyone flips out. And then she turns over, she's a Deadite. And he just immediately hits her that like, oh, good. I was starting to feel like a real dick.
What I love about the dinner scenes as well is like when we're seeing it from Ash's perspective with the meat and there's all that blood just like dripping off of it, and then it cuts back to like say Kelly's perspective or her dad's perspective, and it's like, oh, I did it how you liked it, medium rare, and it's that kind of like. And then when she's eating it, there's like the blood coming out of her mouth and all that stuff. And it's again from Ash's perspective. It's really cool how they play with that, because it is that kind of, the Deadites have the ability to mess with reality that you see as well. And we get a lot more of that in the series. They didn't really do a lot with that in the films so much. Really, and I like that they're doing that a bit more here.
Well, they're doing more with the Deadites in general. Like that, I think that's kind of like the secret sauce of the show is like, yeah, we're gonna have Ash. We're gonna get a lot more of Ash. We're also gonna expand the Deadites. Like, we're gonna make them a lot more. And like you get a lot in these episodes. Like they talk directly to Ash. Like they are done with Ash. They have found Ash. They're excited they found Ash. So they want to mess Ash up.
And it goes back to in Evil Dead 2 when we were talking about how the Deadites like Ash as a plaything. Like they like playing with their food before they eat it. And Ash is the one that's been giving them the most fun. And I think that's what it comes back to in here. They're like, oh, our favorite toy. We found our favorite toy again. Let's have some fun again. Yay.
And you could go that way, or you could go like we had fun with him and he didn't let us kill him. How dare he? Like that was our whole point. I'm mad. I want to go kill him now. I was supposed to do this 30 years ago. Like, I can see it go either way, and I'm still fine with that as a show. Like that.
They've had murder blue balls for Ash for 30 years.
That's a long time, man.
That's a long time.
They want to kill him. So they try here, but poor Kelly's dad bites it first.
Yeah,
man. It's like
fork in the eye. Oh my god!
Joker pencil disappearing trick, but with a fork, so it doesn't go in as far.
Yeah,
it's like poor Kelly. Like Kelly gets her dad murdered in front of her, and then her mom brutally beheaded in front of her and sprayed with her blood when it happens. Like,
yeah. So I wonder she's like acting very traumatized for the next bits.
Yeah, I would be too. I would expect you to be. I'd be a little concerned if you weren't traumatized after all of this. But it's good and it's fun and I enjoyed watching it. And it ends with just we need to keep going. Like I like the whole the last conversation by the two Christian graves for her Jewish parents, which I find hysterical. But the whole like I hate whatever did this. And his like, yeah, that was my takeaway too. Just like, agreed. These things suck. And Pablo's like, if you're this mad, you should come with us. And that's it. They're on their way. Like we have our ghost beaters together.
Yeah. Start trying to come up with a name for them, the ghost beaters.
I love it. Ghost beaters are ready to go. And they're going to go find Pablo's uncle, who is a witch doctor or a brujo is what they call him in this.
No, the next one they go to is the bookstore.
Oh, the bookstore. That's right. The bookstore, then the brew. Okay, so they got to go. Yeah. They're going to go to Ash's guy to read a book first, and then they're going to go to Pablo's guy to try to read the book. Because, as we'll find out next week, the Ash's guy doesn't go great.
Like all the bad ideas that Ash has, like next week is pretty bad, though.
It would have worked out. It wouldn't have worked out as poorly had Fisher not shown up. But yes, I agree. It is his worst idea in a long history of very bad ideas.
I mean, he's literally like, bring a demon out so we can talk to him about how we get rid of the demons. Like,
free me and I'll tell you. Nah, I should have seen that coming. All right. So since we're out of the movies into the shows, favorite gooey, goriest, most violent moment might not be carrying on to the series because it's a series and there's probably only be like really one per episode, maybe two, but we're going to keep it going as much as we can. So we'll start this week with favorite moments. They can be violent or not, and we'll do favorite quotes. It's kind of like how we do a Good Place. So I'm going to go first, and then we'll throw to Matt. So my favorite moment from the first episode, which is not a crazy violent moment, but we didn't have time to talk about it, even though there's just the two of us, and we still almost filled this hour. It's the doll fight. It's the very slapsticky Evil Dead 2 doll fight in the warehouse. It's just great.
That is a really good, like the way they do that is really good. Like the sort of like the line of the dolls, and he's walking past, and then he sort of like he sticks his head back around and like tries to catch one like moving, and then it's like,
and then the doll who's like the doll's the one's like, we found you, Ash. Like that's yeah okay. It's like okay, things are popping off, and I'm here for it. So I really liked the doll fight.
It's almost like a retread of the mini Ash fight in Army of Darkness, but not really, because it's just the one, and it's just this kind of this really pissed off doll as well. Like, and I think it makes it more interesting because like Ash is basically getting beat up by this tiny doll. Like, it's not like multiple ones that are messing with him like in Army of Darkness. It's just this one doll.
But it's like it's still, you're right. It has that vibe of like, you know, big comical guys gonna lumber around, fall stuff over, very slapsticky versus this very little thing. Like it's reminiscent of it for sure. My favorite line of this episode is, I hinted at it earlier, but it's when he tries to hit on Kelly and he mentions her mom, and she's like, well, my mom just died, so no. And he's like, wow, okay. Next time you might just want to say, yeah, sure, I'll tell her, because dropping a bomb on someone you just met is kind of rude.
Oh, he's such a dick.
All right, then go ahead, and then you can do your episode 1 and episode 2, then I'll come back for episode 2. We're gonna keep the ping ponging back and forth alive, even if we don't have everyone.
Yeah. It's fine. It's like a tennis game.
Yeah.
So my favorite moment is
From episode 1, not 2.
Yeah. From 1, I think it was. If it's not the doll fight, because the doll fight is great, but I just love the reintroduction of Ash in his trailer with the girdle,
The
like
girl in the juice box.
the girdle in the juice box is so good because the fact that it's like this really old, like leather, like almost like steampunky styling to it, so it making you think that it's his holster and everything from the shotgun and all that sort of the boomstick holster.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking girdle. And it just like that reveal is amazing. I think it's so good, and it's such a great reintroduction to the character, and it sets the tone for the whole episode really well. I think it's such a good opening sequence. My favorite line, it's where he's outside his trailer and he rings the guy at the bookstore and goes, "Yeah, hi. I came in there many years ago and we chatted about a particular book. It was Born of Human Flesh Into Blood. Anyway, I need some help translating that. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'll see you soon." It's just the way that he goes like, yeah, Born of Human Flesh Into Blood. And anyway, I love that delivery is so good. Like just how fast he says it, and then just goes back to like just breeze past that.
Veratu.
Yeah. Oh god. But the jackhammering like a quarterback line is also fantastic as well.
Such a good line. First, I need to do some cardio.
Yeah.
That was episode 1. Did you have episode 2?
I am just having a look now. Episode 2. I mean, episode 2. It's got to be the bit of the grave, like the best moment, like the bit of the grave with like the crosses, like they were Jews and everything, and just the pause in that where he's looking at it and goes, "Kind of wish you'd have told me that." Like it's such a good delivery. Like the way that they cut this show as well is so good. It's just so good.
And just his line, "Those dumb crosses." Like,
yeah.
Because now I kind of wish we'd gotten like one of those like super cutty like, but of him making the crosses like that'd been pretty great.
That would have been pretty good, actually. Oh god. And then my favorite line is it's right near the beginning, and it's Kelly and Ash in the trailer. It's like, "Look, I have no idea where you learn how to kill those things, but if whatever I saw, they call them Deadites. I'd say it's a gift from God, but that would be giving the man upstairs a little too much credit. This is all me, baby. Very humble."
That was 100% my line. Like there's only 2 of us, and we still chose the same line. All right, so I guess for my favorite moment, I'm gonna go for the reveal of the mom. And actually, my favorite moment, and it's gonna be my favorite quote now. All of that, just the Ash giving up on it, like just full on. So, what are you waiting for? Like, why are we even doing like him trying to just like annoy the Deadite out into the open, and that didn't work. So he just cold clocks her, and then down she goes. And everyone's freaking out, and just when she rolls over, and just so that's my moment. And then the quote of the "Oh, good," I was starting to feel like a real dick. As soon as he sees Deadeye, he's like, "I knew I was right." Okay, woo.
Such a good line. I'm gonna let's pretend this is Joel's line or
Sure, yeah.
Ryan's line though, because I just spotted another one, and I like it's so good. Like so it's in the house. It's just when they've like run in, and why are you covered in blood? We hit a deer on the way up here, and when I tried to pull it out of the grill of my car, the sucker just exploded all over us. So we had to cut it with my chainsaw arm. I'm actually a hunter, and I've never seen a deer explode. Well, maybe you're not hunting the right deer.
He's real good. Oh my gosh, man, he's funny.
Oh, there is so many,
It's
so
not the
many
same
good
scene.
lines.
It's like, well, you know what it's like, to be young, dumb, full of conflicting emotions.
Yeah. So good. And there's like the line later on, it's like, if you could take off your gun and put it over there with your chainsaw limb. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's all just great. Even like the little lines, like just please be polite. Oh, I'll be polite right up till I'm rude.
Yeah. I had that one written down as well. I mean, to say, like, not a lot happens in the episode, but it's got so many good, like, lines of dialogue in it. Like, the dialogue in that episode is just chef's kiss, spot on. Like,
but yeah. But let's wrap things up. We're not going to bother doing plugs because there's only 2 of us, and one of us never plugs anything. So I'm not going to bother plug anything. And Matt, you can do your plug as normal. Nothing. Okay, great.
what if I had something to plug? You don't know. You
Do
don't
you?
know. No, but you don't know.
I did know that. But next week we'll start up with what I declared in our chat as a damn near flawless episode of TV. I really, really like episode 3. 4 is great too. Don't get me wrong, and 2 is great. It's all great, but 3 for some reason it just really, really works for me. So I'm excited to dive into 3 next week. It's probably just gonna be Matt and I again, based on the side chats I've been looking at, but that's okay. We will have more back the week after that. Might be Ryan, might not be Ryan. I don't remember how the next one's working out. We'll figure it out when we get there. Bye. Atu Veratu necktie. Is that a good ending?
Necktie.
I said enough.
Barata.